Hi everybody, welcome to another installment of Heroclix's Figure Ratings. Today we have a character from the future, Terrence McGinnis, also known as Terry or Batman Beyond, or just Batman. The series was called Batman Beyond. Terry McGinnis, in case you don't know anything about the character, of course, was created by Bruce Timm and Paul Dini. If those names sound familiar, it's because they're 2 out of the 3 creators for the Batman the Animated Series. They also created the television series called Batman Beyond, which, by the way, if you haven't seen it, it's pretty good. It starts off with kind of a slow burn, kind of setting everything up, but once it gets going, it's actually a really good series. I recommend you check it out if you haven't seen it already. Spoiler alert for those that don't know who Terry McGinnis or what the story is about for Batman Beyond. It takes place in the future, of course, with an aging Amanda Waller who sought out a way to kind of keep the whole Batman thing going, even though it's in the future. It's kind of messed up thinking about it. It involves some genetic experimentation here on behalf of Project Cadmus and Amanda Waller. Codenamed Project Batman Beyond was a scheme to give Batman a genetic son who would likewise be compelled to take up a life as his successor. After obtaining a sample of Batman's DNA, a young couple was later found that were almost identical physiological matches to Batman's father and mother. During an apparent routine flu inoculation, Warren was actually administered a nanotech solution that overwrote his reproductive DNA with Bruce Wayne's. A year later, Terry McGinnis was born as a genetic son of Mary and Bruce. So it's kind of messed up that it wasn't even the guy's kid. It was actually Bruce's kid, Terry McGinnis, and I won't spoil too much into it. Just check it out. Moving on to the figure ratings, which is why you're all here. Point cost efficiency. We'll start with that. This one was the hardest of the 7 categories that I used to rate this figure. This one was the hardest for me to come up with a solid number. At first, I thought maybe, one. I was thinking 1 or 2 because he's 125 points, and I rate them in a 300 point standard 300 point game, and it takes up quite a bit of your points when you're trying to build a team. However, just continuing to look over his dial, his abilities, powers, and all that, I couldn't overlook the fact that he can choose so many powers. It's pretty unique unto itself that he can, choose whatever powers he needs to use, and that's in that particular turn. He can fill a lot of roles because of that, and instead of settling for a 1 or a 2 with point cost efficiency, I went with 3. I may be reconvinced to bring it back down to 2 because it's 125 points. But for now, I'll stick with the 3 just to be on the safer side. Because I have played him, and he was excellent. He was a great figure to have on my team. The thing is, like I said, it's 125 points depending on your team builds. It doesn't give you a lot of points to work with. How you look at it. Depends on how you look at it. So we'll leave him at 3. So that's for potential damage. I settled on a 5 because Blade's Claw's Fangs is a big one. The fact that he can choose it when he has Flurry active on his last 2 clicks just kind of sealed the deal for me. It's pretty brutal. The energy explosion with 2 targets as well. If you can catch something off guard, you can catch small groups off guard. They're in for a lot of potential damage. So that's why I decided to go with 5 for potential damage. Utility. I think I've mentioned this several times already. The fact that he can choose so many powers gives him a lot of utility. He's not just relegated to dealing damage. He can also block line of fire, thanks to his multi-spectrum camouflage, the Batman team ability. Tie characters up with Smoke Cloud, Poison, Outwit to kind of negate, their movement attack power. So he can definitely choose what role he's gonna be each turn because of some looks never go out of style and the tomorrow night a different kind of bad special powers. And so I decided to give him a 5 for utility because of that as well. Keywords was really easy. He has Justice League. Justice League has an insane amount of figures to choose from. And remember, I only rate the keywords, the rating that the characters that I rate are only based off of the named keywords, not the generic keywords. I try not to play too much with the generic keywords because there's it's a lot. You look up generic keywords now like armor, detective. There's so many characters to choose from. It's hard not to build a good team. So I like to kind of challenge my team building and focus on named theme teams. Looking at the named keywords that he has, Justice League alone gives him a huge boost. Add Gotham City to that, you have a lot of combinations of named theme teams that he can squeeze into. And Batman Family is another keyword that's really solid as well. It's not as great as Gotham City, I think, but still a great named keyword nonetheless. So this one was pretty easy for me, and I went with 5 right away based off of Justice League and Gotham City alone, and adding the other 2 doesn't hurt. Special powers and traits. Terry McGinnis here has a very unique power in multi-spectrum camouflage that opposing characters can't draw a line of fire to Batman Beyond if he is adjacent to blocking terrain, on top of having the Batman team ability. It's going to make him kind of hard to target given the right map choice, especially if you can win the map choice. Boom Tube Travel. Once per game, phasing teleport. When Batman Beyond uses it, his speed value is 12, and after resolutions, remove an action token from him. So that's also a pretty cool power. It's only once per game, so it didn't give him that much of a boost for this particular rating. But the other 2 powers just kind of clinched it. I've already covered those special powers earlier with the other category, so I won't go into how good they are. I'll leave that alone and just reveal the rating, which is a 5 for special powers and traits. Terry McGinnis is on a roll here. Movement. He has flight, which already, gives him a head start above characters that don't fly. On top of that, he does have move abilities that give him the capability to do move and attack, such as running shot, charge, sidestep. And the last 2 clicks, he's kind of missing out, so I kind of debated giving him maybe 4 points for movement because he doesn't have any sort of move and attack powers on his last 2 clicks. Then I remembered he has Boom Tube Travel. It's not as great as the other powers, of course. When you want to move and attack, you still gotta wait a turn after using it, but it's still something. And that kind of just, I was already teetering on a 4 because he had so much move and attack, but add Boom Tube Travel and I just gave him the 5 as well. And the final rating here is survivability. He's multi-spectrum camouflage. Batman team ability. Makes him hard enough to target. Granted that there is more and more improved targeting nowadays. However, the multi-spectrum camouflage kind of helps him make up for that. Makes him a little harder to hit. So gives him more survivability. On top of that, he has access to shape change should he want to go on the defensive. Poison to kind of prevent him from being based. So he does have ways to get around. If he gets cornered, he can use the phasing teleport, Boom Tube Travel to get out of danger quickly. So he does have a lot of different ways to kind of survive and stay on the map as long as possible to deal all that potential damage that I know he can deal. And so with this, I went with a 5. I may reconsider and go with a 4 later when I do the top 10 for Justice League Unlimited whenever I get here. But for now, we'll stick with a 5. And the final figure rating for Batman Beyond is 9.44. He only missed 2 spots for point cost efficiency. If he would have cost less, he I think he would have easily scored a perfect score here. It's a great figure. If you haven't already tried him out, I recommend you try him out. And this is the team that I was talking about, Project Cadmus, that I was going to show you. It's a Project Cadmus theme team using Batman Beyond, of course, as the central figure and kind of building around him. It's currently at 280. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do with the last 20 points. I'll probably post that update on Twitter once I complete the 300 points to see what I'm going to do with it. And I don't restrict myself regarding sets or anything like that, because I do try to focus on building teams casually that you would play at home with friends, family, whatever, whoever you play with, whomever. Is it whoever or whomever? I never really know. But for right now, it's 280. Focuses on Batman Beyond. Uses Amanda Waller to kind of give him that attack boost, because the world needs a Batman, of course. And I'm usually always just going to choose attack. Why not? I can always just perplex his damage up by 1 another way or whatever else I need to. But attack is crucial. You got to hit those attacks. And she has leadership, outwit, and perplex. It's not she just has those 3 powers. It's great powers. Terry McGinnis can carry her around because she has leadership. She can remove tokens off of him. Terry McGinnis has leadership, so he can remove tokens off of her. Amazo is here because he's very solid. If you haven't seen my character rating on Amazo, I recommend you check that out. It's on my YouTube channel. It should pop up somewhere. Since he only has 5 clicks, you want to be a little more careful with him than you would be if he was at his 125 point level, but still a very solid figure nonetheless to have on your team. More than likely choosing a stealth and mastermind to start with, carrying around a Star Lab scientist in case he needs to mastermind that damage, gets caught off guard or something. The Star Lab scientist can take a hit for him. They're pretty expendable on that regard, seeing as how I have 3. I can stand to lose 1, maybe 2, and I'm still debating maybe I should just add a 4th Star Lab scientist just to make it 295 and have 1 or 2 expandable without, my heart skipping a beat for losing too many characters against the opponent. For Amazo, and then of course try to take powers off of your opponent's figures. Unfortunately, he doesn't work well with Batman Beyond being able to choose all these powers, because Amazo's power triggers at the beginning of the turn, and as you can see, Batman Beyond is a free action. So that's my team for now. 295, maybe 280. Bring it down and maybe throw a resource in there for now. I'll update it on Twitter, my final decision. If you are not following me on Twitter, it's at CasualClixin. The same thing with my Instagram. If you don't have a Twitter account, I also post very frequently on Instagram as well. That's it for character rating featuring Batman Beyond, Terry McGinnis. I appreciate you all tuning in and continuing to support my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you so much for watching.